Be me. Really little, but old enough to be a person, if that makes sense. Absolutely fucking terrified of nighttime because weird shit seems to be constantly happening to me as soon as everyone else is asleep. Also, have an irrational fear that my parents will disappear if I don't check on them every now and then, or at least hear them moving around. Some distant relative gets married, throws a big wedding, travel with parents hours away so we can stay overnight after the ceremony. All the beds and couches are already taken. It's fine, Anon can sleep on the floor. No one asks Anon if it's cool, but okay. Sleeping bag is right next to the bed that my parents are in. Sheets only partially cover the space under the bed that I'm sleeping inches from. Dreading bedtime. Eventually, it's time for lights out. I beg parents to sleep in their bed. No, Anon, you're a big boy, blah 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 blah. Laying on my side with my face to the bed, trying to sleep. Too hot to have sleeping bag covering my head for safety, so now I'm extra nervous. Hear Mom moving around in bed. Look up. Mom is leaning over the bed, looking down at me. She's leaned way over, but it's dark enough that I can't see her face. Too scared to speak. Mom isn't speaking either. Lay there staring at her. Eventually, she lays back down. Realize I'm not gonna sleep, so I decide fuck it. I'd rather be hot, and I burrow deep in my bag. I actually almost fall asleep, but what sounds like an entire pane of glass explodes downstairs in the kitchen. Loudest thing I've ever fucking heard. Genuinely pissed myself a little. Lay there completely frozen in terror. No lights come on. None of the other 10 or so people in the house react at all. Dad groans a little, and I hear him get out of bed. Ask him what the fuck that was. Not literally, of course. Dad doesn't answer. Just walks past me. Goes downstairs. Hear nothing for what feels like an hour. Eventually, Dad just sort of reappears back at the top of the stairs. I don't hear him come up or do anything down there. He gets back in bed. Eventually, I passed out from exhaustion. Wake up late next morning. Everyone's pissed because no time to get me ready for wedding. I ask again, what the hell happened last night? What are you talking about? Nothing happened. You were probably dreaming. Go around house looking for broken windows or mirrors. Nothing is missing. No one else remembers or heard anything. Well, what the fuck, Anons? Were those two things related? What the fuck did I hear? Was it aliens? Someone please make sense of this. Dad is a groundskeeper for a large estate. Sometimes works with a friend. They go out one day to put out traps. Very dense woodland. Lots of creeks and sudden drops. Going over a rocky area. Friend is in the lead. Dad is watching friend. Dad says friend suddenly falls down screaming. Dad rushes over to see what's happened. Friend is bleeding all over. Dad has no idea what the hell's going on. Friend is grabbing his ankle. Below the ankle, there's nothing. Looks like the foot's been torn off. Dad said it wasn't clean, but like it had literally been ripped off. Gets friend back to hospital. Later, they go back out to try and find the foot. Never find it. No one knows what the fuck happened, but I think they basically said that he must have caught it wrong, popped it off, and an animal came and took it when they left. Dad says his friend didn't fall because he caught his foot. He only fell because whatever happened had just happened, and he was reacting to the pain. Friend died a few years ago, so can't ask him unless someone knows a foolproof way to perform a seance. This sounds so fucking stupid, but I swear it happened. If my mom hadn't been there with me, I would just say it was me tripping out or having a seizure or whatever, but she remembers it exactly how I do. Go with Mom to the mall. Finish up shopping. Here, Nan, you can hold all the bags. Mommy's good boy.gif. Carry all the bags to the car for Mommy. Excited to get home and eat tendies and watch cartoons. Mom is driving. Pulls out of the space and follows signs to go up. Get into the circle ramp thing. Drive up. Drive up. Still driving up. Wow, haha, I don't remember this car park being so tall. Still driving up. Finally see turnout marked as exit. Come around the last curve. Follow arrows. Not too busy on this floor, but there's still cars. Follow arrows. Follow more arrows. Dead end. What? Mom awkwardly pulls into space and turns around. Did we make the wrong turn? Tell her that we must have, but secretly, I know we didn't. Getting a really bad feeling. Follow signs to get back on circle ramp. Same fucking thing. We go up and up and up and we come out. And we hit a dead end. Notice there's a floor marker painted on one of the concrete pillars as we pass it. It's the fucking floor below the one that we started on. Shit myself. Tell Mom I'm gonna drive. She looks at me like I'm insane, but she trusts me. Take the wheel, get on circle ramp, drive past a sign that says to turn off the exit. A second sign appears. Take this sign. Continue driving up. Finally, see daylight. Leave car park. So yeah, that's the time I almost got fucking lost forever in a parking garage. Vienna, Iraq, 2004, Baghdad. Insurgents insurge on our patrol. Exchange of small arms fire across a busy road with vehicles still going across it. Gunfire slows. Bad guys either disengaged or dead. After the firefight, see a shitty white old Volkswagen Jetta with its blue and white squiggly Arabic license plates parked on a curb. Man stumbles out of the vehicle, freaking out. His shirt collar is covered in blood. Doesn't seem to be hit. He curls up in the middle of the road and starts crying. We go to check on him. See one perfect bullet hole on each side of the windows in the back of the car. Hear a wheezing noise. Open door. Find his daughter in the back. A bullet had gone through the car windows and through the front of the girl's neck, blowing out her throat. She's wearing a black dress with white and pink flowers, and pink leather sandals with little plastic daisies on them. She's got pigtails and can't be more than 8 years old. Blood sprayed all over the back of the driver's seat, and all over the back seat too. She's making the same noise as these Russian conscripts in that Chechen execution video that we saw before they sent us over, to teach us that these people are savages who would do the same to us. She looks at me with a panicked look in her eyes, her hands at her throat, and she's still making that wheezing noise. Her wheezes get weaker, and she finally stops and goes limp. Doesn't close her eyes. When I got back to my senses, I was holding her hands. Never figured out which side fired that bullet. Fallujah, Iraq, 2003 to 2004. Getting in a firefight for like the 4th time this week. Gotten used to it by now, more or less. And I would be lying if I didn't admit, it finally felt like we were in a real war. After the shooting stops, we gather ourselves and move through the neighborhood and look for any further threats. Find left behind weapons, grenades, radios, and some blood trails. Usually, when we wounded or killed off an insurgent, they would carry them off so we would never know if we really got any and couldn't take any prisoners. Find one of them that got left behind. Jesus Christ, it's just a kid. He can't be any older than 16. Holy shit, he's still alive. He's twitching a bit, and the corpsman flips him over, revealing a bullet wound to the neck. We all know now that he's fucked. We just gather around and try to comfort him. He's between anger and fear, letting out these gurgled squeals and grunts, writhing around in front of us. Notice he's clenching something close to his chest. We all think, grenade, and we drop him and run. He doesn't blow up. Cautiously walk back over, and he's gone. One of my guys opens his hand to see what it was. It's an old and worn down Superman action figure. We throw it out because nobody can stand to look at it. I can't ever look at my son's toys without getting chills now. Here's a story that my grandfather told me one night after too many drinks. World War II. Bastogne. Germans hit the line again, but they fight them off. Go out to pick off any survivors and steal some gear. Finds one German shot in the chest and stomach. The German reaches down into his backpack, and Grandpa almost puts a bullet into him. German pulls out pictures and hands them to him. It's one of the German in his uniform, standing with his parents. Another with some girl, probably his wife. Grandpa has a moment of realization and decides to help him to a medic and sees him off on a stretcher. Talks to the medic the next day to see what happened. Sorry, he didn't make it. Grandpa was never able to tell that story without staring off blankly and getting quiet for a long time. When I was in the Scouts on Veterans Day, we had a World War II vet come in and tell us some stories. He said this was a, quote-unquote, funny story. Landed on Iwo Jima with the first wave. There the full 36 days. His entire squad was wiped out, except for him. Sees a dead soldier, goes to dig through his pockets. Turns out, he was just wounded, and he had a grenade. It goes off while the vet was standing right over the soldier. Vet is blown into the air. Turns out, the soldier was lying on top of the grenade, and took the full force of it. Vet is unwounded, but, quote-unquote, covered in guts. He's laughing as he's telling this to a room full of 13-year-olds. Then he talked about how the US had a shit ton of supplies and the best weapons, and they still had to fight like hell for every inch. And he still hasn't forgiven the Japanese to this day. Then he said that we should all join the Marines. Great-grandfather is an army surgeon in World War II. Hated the French since World War I. French officer begins executing wounded prisoners in his field hospital. Walk out of the surgery room and shoots the Frenchman in the stomach. Tells a nurse to stop the bleeding but administer no morphine. I know where I shot him. He will live. Performed surgery an hour later and dug the bullet out with no anesthetic. Told the Frenchman, anesthetic is reserved for soldiers, not whatever you're dressed as. Friday morning, my friend and I decided to go camping in the woods, just a few miles behind my house. In a cluster of trees, there's a small waterfall and a small piece of land, and a type of moat. Anyway, we planned to camp over the weekend into Monday. The weather was supposed to be good, but gloomy, which was okay. It wasn't uncommon for our country to be cold and dark. The area we camped in was known for old airfields, abandoned cabins, and such. Sometimes, farmers' sheep would turn up gutted and half skinned near the waterbeds. Police did an investigation, but it just came up to being wild dogs and foxes. We finally got to the site. It was later in the afternoon. My friend Leah found some stacked rocks around the waterbed in a triangle, and thought it would be funny to knock them down. After she did, the area dropped quiet. Leah just laughed it off. Just a fox in the area. So, we just continued with our day, building a small fire pit next to our 2-man tent. And we just sat and ate shitty junk food till it got darker. On the other side of our tent, a few meters away, there was a trench-like thing that went down a few feet and then up into a hill lined with trees. So, as it got darker, Leah began getting nervous. She wasn't a fan of the dark, but I really didn't mind it. We had our fire started and casually talked about missing people and the rumor of the green lady who supposedly haunted the road along my house. Leah ranted on about how it's impossible for ghosts to exist, and then she just got quiet and looked almost detached as she sat there. I asked her what's up, and she just points over to the hill where the trees line across it. What looked like a person was standing there. We were both frozen for a while, watching this thing pace back and forth for a while, and then it disappeared. Leah and I looked at each other wondering what the fuck that thing was, and we decided that it was late, and that we were exhausted from the walk. So, maybe we were just mistaking a deer or something else as paranormal. We struggled to sleep and eventually passed out from exhaustion. A few hours into the night, we heard movement around our camp, like someone stomping around, looking through the trash bag, which we had our stuff in. Suddenly, it started running towards our tent and abruptly stopped at the tent door. A few noises coming from further away from the tent, which scared us, but it sounded like foxes, but more of like a laughing cackle. We were shitting ourselves, thinking we were about to be chainsaw massacred. At 2 a.m. in a small blue tent, we watched a shadow walk a few circles around the tent, making noises that you would hear if you were gurgling water, and then it walked away. We both sat in the tent for the rest of the night, too scared to leave until morning. We got out of the tent and looked around, finding our trash scattered everywhere, and we found boot prints in the mud by the waterbed, and that the rock pile that Leah had knocked down was stacked back up again, and there were finger scrapings in the mud from the rocks being picked up. We left, never going back to it, but constantly felt watched while walking the trail home. People in the town started talking about the 2 people who went missing in the area that we went camping, and we both decided we're never going camping again. Be 24-year-old me, meth addict, real piece of shit, stealing to support my habit. I'm high 24/7, basically deranged. I'll do anything to get cash, and one night, I can't come up with any. My usual spots know me, and they'll call the cops if I even show up. Wander around various neighborhoods, just thinking. Try to open the doors on a few cars, but I set an alarm off, and after that, I was too chicken. Go down a cul-de-sac. Notice a house with the front door cracked slightly. I think, that's weird. So I go over and look. The deadbolt is thrown, but it looks like the mat is stuck, so they probably thought it was locked. Look around. No one sees me. Go into the house. It's really nice. I have no idea what I'm doing. I sit on the couch for a minute and just look around. It's a really weird feeling when you're in someone's house, and no one but you knows. See a purse on the counter. Go over and grab it. She's got almost 100 in her wallet. I take the whole thing. Decide to take a look around. I turn to leave. A little girl is standing in the doorway. Her eyes are huge. Nearly shit myself. Realize I'm fucked. She's about to scream. Act out of sheer panic. Grab her and cover her mouth with my hand. She's struggling. Fuck. I just don't want you to scream. What do? I try to whisper her to be quiet, and that I'll let her go. I twist her head up so I can say it in her ear. I honestly didn't mean to hurt her, and I know no one will believe me. I killed her. She went limp, and I dropped her. I heard her mom wake up, and I sprinted out of the house. I saw her story on the news that night. She was declared dead at the scene. It was cold, so I was wearing gloves and a hat. They never caught me. I got away with it. After attempting suicide a few times, I got clean. I got my shit together. I've been sober for 12 years, and I can never confess.